Hello everybody, this is Yoko's Anime Reactions, and, let's see. We're going to part 3, everybody. Hopefully we can finish this chapter. Let's see how much we got to work with. That's a lot. Holy cow, it is a lot. Oh my god. I might have to break this up into 2 parts, oh good lord. That was just, wait, part 2? Holy cow. Wish me luck. Holy cow. Eventually, the group arrived at a vast hemispherical dome-shaped hall. 4 colored crystal lamps glittered from the ceiling, and there were 72 niches in the wall. Most of them were filled with statues. Each statue was modeled after a demon's appearance, and there were 67 of them. This room was called the Lemmageddon. It was named after the Lesser Key of Solomon, which was a magical grimoire. I probably butchered the name. I'm sorry. The statues in the niches were designed to resemble the 72 demons mentioned in that book, and in truth, they were golems, made out of extremely rare magical alloys. There should have been 72 of them, but there were only 67 because their creator got bored of the project and quit halfway. How is that halfway? 67. If it was, 36 of them, then that would have been halfway through. But no, that's most of them. That's probably 3/4 of the way through, if not more. The 4 colored crystal lamps on the ceiling were a type of monster. That's scary. And the moment an enemy entered their range, they would summon high-ranking elementals of earth, water, wind, and fire, in addition to bombarding them with area of effect attack magic. If these crystal lamps all attacked at once, the firepower they unleashed could easily defeat 2 parties of level 100 players, which would be roughly 12 people. Dang. This room could be said to be the final defensive line of the great underground tomb of Nazarick. Umunga led the servants behind him past the magic circle and laid eyes on the giant doors before him. The majestic set of double doors were over 5 meters in height and covered in intricate carvings. The left side was shaped into a beautiful goddess, while the right was made to resemble a cruel demon. So realistic was their design that even from across the room, Umunga felt like they would attack him. Still, while the carvings looked like they could move, Umunga knew that they had never moved before. Since they made it all the way here, we should gather in glory and welcome these brave heroes. Let others slander us as they will, but we shall welcome them proudly and openly like the magnanimous lords that we are. The idea had been passed, in accordance with the majority vote rule. Olbert-san. Olbert Elaine Audel. He was arguably the most obsessed with the idea of evil in the guild. Was it because of Chunibiu? I'm probably going to butcher a bunch of these names, I'm sorry guys. Umunga felt that way as he looked around the large hall. Will those 2 statues attack? He was right to feel so uneasy. Even Umunga did not fully grasp the secrets of all the mechanisms in this dungeon. It would not be strange if one of the retired guild members had left a strange sort of present for him, and the one who had designed this set of doors was just such a person. Great! In the past, he had designed a very powerful golem, but shortly after activation, a flaw in the combat AI made itself known and it had attacked everyone around it. That's not good. Yeah, you really don't want something like that to happen. To this day, Umunga still had his doubts about whether that mistake had been on purpose. Hey, Lucy Fairson, if they really attack me, I'll be mad, you know. However, Umunga's caution as reaching for the door was unfounded. As he touched them, they opened by themselves, although they did so slowly, in deference to their massive weight. The air changed. Although the atmosphere from earlier was filled with quiet solemnity, the scene before his eyes now exceeded that by far. The air became a pressure that weighed heavily on the entire body. It was an exquisite piece of work. And in this wide, high room, even packing several hundred people inside would not make the room feel crowded. The high ceiling and the surrounding walls were predominantly white color with golden decorations as highlights. The numerous chandeliers which hung from the ceiling were made in precious stones of all colors of the rainbow, and they emitted a fantastic, dreamlike radiance. Numerous flags, emblazoned with different symbols, hung from flagpoles sunk into the walls. A total of 41 of these flags swayed gently in the wind from the ceiling to the floor. In the center of the room that was tinted gold and silver, there was a flight of stairs about 10 steps high. Atop these steps was a giant throne, carved out of a single piece of crystal, whose back was high enough to touch the ceiling above it. Dang, that is high. A huge red banner hung down behind it, proudly displaying the symbol of the guild. This place was located in the deepest reaches of the great underground tomb of Nazarick. It was also the most important place, the throne room. Oh. Even Momonga could not help but gasp at the sheer magnificence of this room. He felt that it was easily the second most impressive location in Yggdrasil, if not the first. This was the most suitable place for him to welcome the final moments of the game. As Momonga advanced through the room and seemed to absorb the sounds of his footsteps, his eyes fell on the female NPC that stood by the side of the throne. She was a beautiful woman who wore a pure white dress, and the faint smile on her face was that of a goddess. In stark contrast to her dress, her hair was a flowing, lustrous jet black that reached down to her waist. Although her golden irises and vertically slitted pupils were somewhat odd, apart from those, she could easily be considered a world-class beauty. However, a pair of curled horns sprouted from the sides of her head. In addition, a pair of black feathered wings emerged from her waist. Why her waist? Why not around, further up her waist, like near her shoulders? That would make a little more sense. At least from what I've seen on the show. Perhaps it was because of the horns, but her divine smile seemed like a mask that concealed her true feelings. She wore a golden necklace that was patterned after a spiderweb, which extended from her shoulders down to the top of her breasts. Her slender wrists were covered in a pair of lustrous silk gloves, and in her hand she held a strange weapon that looked like a wand of some sort. It was roughly 45 centimeters long, and a black orb hovered at its end, floating lightly in the air but holding its position at the end of the wand. Her name, Momonga had not yet forgotten. Albedo! Oh god. Oh dear, this is gonna be awkward when I get to the part where after he gets transported. Essentially when the game goes bye-bye. She was overseer of the floor guardians, the great underground tomb of Nazarick, Albedo. She was in charge of the 7 NPC floor guardians. In other words, she was the highest ranked character in the great underground tomb of Nazarick. Because of that, she was permitted to await orders within the throne room in the deepest reaches of the tomb. However, Momonga turned a sharp look on Albedo. I knew there was a world-class item here, but how is it there are 2 of them here now? Is that supposed to be a cheesy pickup line? Let me know. Or did she somehow have 2 of them? I don't get it. Anyway, in Yggdrasil, there were 200 ultimate items in the game known as world-class items. World-class items possessed unique abilities, and some of them were so balance-breaking that they could even request changes to the game's rules from the developers. Of course, not every world-class item possessed such insane power. Even so, a player who possessed even a single world-class item would be catapulted to the highest echelons of fame in Yggdrasil. Einzelgone possessed 11 items like this, the most of any guild. Even that was far in excess of any other guild. The guild in second place only possessed 3 such items. Hold on, there's 200 of them. And Einzelgone has 11, and the other guild has 3. What, do each of the other guilds only have 1? Because that is 14, so that would mean 186 of them are unaccounted for or are held by other guilds. So I'm guessing 186 other guilds have a world-class item. That'd be interesting to see. With the permission of the other guild members, Momonga was allowed to possess 1 of these ultimate items, and the rest of these world-class items were scattered throughout Nazarick. However, most of them were stored in the depths of the treasury, defended by its avatars. The only reason why Albedo could possess such a rare treasure like this, without Momonga's knowledge, was because the guild member who designed Albedo had given it to her. However, since today was clearly already the last day of the game, Momonga felt that he should respect the wishes of his comrade who had given the item to Albedo, and so he did not take further action. This is a good place. Momonga's words were directed to Sebas and the Pleiades as they reached the base of the stairs heading to the throne. After that, he began climbing the stairs but stopped when he heard footsteps behind him. Momonga could not help but laugh, although his skeletal face could not show any expressions. The NPCs were merely inflexible AI routines. If he did not give a specifically worded command, they would not recognize it as an order. So essentially he has to be very specific. Umunga had forgotten this, and thus he had not properly commanded the NPCs. After his guild members left, Umunga had begun solo hunting by himself to a nearly ridiculous degree in order to earn the gold needed to maintain Nazarick. He did not build friendships with other players and avoided them, as well as the high difficulty areas he used to visit when his guild members had still been around. Then he would deposit his earnings in the treasury before logging out. This had been his routine for almost every day. As such, he did not have much contact with the NPCs. Stand by. The sound of footsteps stopped. After Momonga gave the correct command, he ascended the final steps and arrived at the throne. He stared openly at Albedo, who stood by his side. Though he had entered this room before, he did not recall her eyes tracking him in his memories. What kind of backstory was she designed with? All Munga knew about her character was that she was the overseer of the Guardians, as well as the highest-ranking NPC in Nazarick. Driven by curiosity, Umunga opened up a console and began scrolling through the details of Albedo's flavor text. A flood of densely packed characters filled his vision. It was like reading an ancient epic poem. Oh, great! He's one of her character. The person who made her is one of those people that likes to make very, 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 very detailed backstories for a character. I don't mind those. It's just kind of tedious to read at times. If he took his time to read it in detail, he would probably still be reading until the game ended. Momonga felt like he had stepped on a landmine. If he could move, he would be trembling now. He wanted to scold himself for having forgotten that Albedo's creator was obsessed with this sort of thing. However, since he had already opened it, he had no choice but to abandon his resistance and continue scrolling. He didn't even skim the text for the important points. He simply scrolled to the bottom as fast as he could while looking at the title. After skimming past vast expanses of text, Momonga's mind settled on the last line and froze. She is also a slut. Ooh, well then again, considering that if she is a succubus, it makes perfect sense. Considering they need sexual energy in order to, well, exist. Or maybe this is different for this game, I guess. That succubus is a little different than it normally is. He could not help but stare. What does this mean? Do you not really know what a... Oh my god, he doesn't even really know what... Does he really not know what a slut is? A cry of disbelief escaped from Munga's non-existent lips. He looked at the words over several more times, eyes filled with suspicion, but in the end, he could not find any other meaning to them. After several rounds of thought, he could only come to the conclusion it started with. Essentially, I think he was trying to find if it had a different meaning than what it's supposed to mean. A slut, meaning she has excessive sexual desire. I mean, like I said, she is a succubus, so it makes perfect sense. Though, what we find out later, I think is hilarious. Each of the 41 guild members had designed their own NPCs, so he could not understand why anyone would want to treat the NPCs they had designed themselves in this manner. Perhaps he would understand why after reading that long essay of flavor text. However, there were guild members who would come up with these unconventional designs. Albedo's designer, Tabula Smaragdina? I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. Is this what they call... What the heck is... Can somebody tell me what Gatmo is? Please? Tabula-san. Even so, isn't a backstory like this far too much? Umunga could not help but think that all the NPCs made by everyone were an inheritance of the guild. Designing the highest-ranked NPC Albedo in this manner made him think that Tabula Margadina was beyond saving. Okay. Shoot, where did I go? Will he find a change in NPC's backstory based on a personal decision? After thinking about it for some time, Umunga came to a conclusion. Should I change it? Currently with the guild weapon in his possession, Umunga could be said to be the master of the guild. It should be alright to exercise the guild master's authority he had never used before. Umunga's doubts vanished like mist as he steeled himself to right the wrongs of his guildmate. He extended the staff of Ain's Ogon that he was holding. Normally, one would need developer's tools to change a character's backstory but through his power as Guildmaster, he could directly access her settings and edit them. After some action on his console, the words "the slut line" vanished. Well, it should be like that. Umonga thought a bit more and looked at the gap in Albedo's flavor text. I should probably fill that up. This feels a little silly. Although he was laughing at himself, he still typed out a few words on the console keyboard. The words formed a sentence. She loves Umonga. Ugh, how embarrassing. Really, bro? You had to do that. Well, then again, I guess he figured, oh, the game is ending. This isn't gonna matter. Oh, how wrong he was. Umonga covered his face with his palm. It felt like as though he was designing his ideal girlfriend, complete with love events for himself, which embarrassed him so much that his heart began pounding. Although he wanted to rewrite it again out of shame, in the end he changed his mind and decided against it. The game would end soon after all, and his shame would vanish with it. Yeah, see? Yeah, that's what he thought. Besides, the sentence he added matched the gap left by the deleted sentence exactly. It would be a shame if he deleted it and left it empty space again. Umonga sat on his throne, scanning his surroundings with eyes filled with satisfaction and a little embarrassment. He noticed that Sebas and the maids were still standing by in a dormant state. It seemed a little lonely and a little odd to have them standing motionless like that. I think there was a command for that. Umonga recalled the words he had heard before and extended a hand before lightly bringing it down. Kneel. As one, Albedo, Sebas, and the 6 maids fell to one knee in obeisance? Don't ask me. Good. Umonga raised his left hand to check the time. 23 hours, 55 minutes, and 40 seconds. He was just in time. In all likelihood, the GMs were probably flooding the public channels and setting off fireworks. Umonga, who had put his heart and soul into this place and cut off all contact with the outside world, was unaware of that. Umonga leaned against the back of the throne and slowly raised his head to look at the ceiling. He believed that even on the last day of the game, some invaders might come to Nazarick. He would wait for them. He would accept any challenge in his position as Guildmaster. He had sent emails to all the guild members, but only a few had come. He would wait for them. He would welcome his comrades back in his position as Guildmaster. A relic of the past, huh? Umonga sank in thought. Although the guild was now just an empty shell, he had enjoyed his time with it. He turned his eyes to look at the huge flags hanging from the ceiling. There were 41 of them in total, the same number as there were guild members. Each of them displayed the personal symbol of each guild member. Umonga extended a bony finger and pointed to one of them. Mine. Then he turned his attention to a nearby flag. The flag represented one of the strongest players in Ainzulgo, no, in all of Yggdrasil. He was the one who had started the guild and the one who had gathered the original 9. Really? Who names their username Touch Me? That makes no sense. Why? And also, you had to be heteromorphic, what was his race? That's what I want to know. What was Touch Me's race? Because from what we see in the anime, he looked like a knight in armor, essentially. But so what was he? The symbol on the next flag he pointed to belonged to the oldest member of Ainzulgon, who was a lecturer in a university in real life. Shijuten Suzaku. His finger moved faster than before as he shifted to the flag which belonged to one of the 3 female members of Ainzulgon. Ankoro Mochi Mochi. Umonga finally fluidly recited the names of the various symbols' owners. Hiro, Perorochino. Dang it, how do they say it? Buka, Chagama, don't ask me. Tabula, Warrior, Takamizuchi, Variable Talisman, Genjiro. It didn't take long for him to name all 40 of his former comrades. Their names were still branded deeply in Umonga's brain. He sprawled tiredly on the throne. Yeah, it really was fun. Even though the game did not have any subscription fees, Umonga had still spent a third of his monthly salary on it. It was not because his salary was high, but because he had no other hobbies, so he funneled all his income into Yggdrasil. There was a cash gacha in the game where players could pay for a chance to win a prize. Umonga spent nearly his entire bonus on it and barely managed to get a rare item out of the experience. When he heard that one of his guild members Yamaiko had won that item for the cost of a lunch, Umonga was so filled with jealousy that he wanted to roll around on the ground. Okay, I guess this is a little note. Gachas are slang for game-based lotteries or lucky draws, named after gachapons, which are coin-operated vending machines which randomly dispense a prize. Because almost all of Ainzogon's members were productive members of society, most of them were willing to spend money on this hobby, and among them, Umonga was one of the bigger spenders. He was probably one of the top few on the server. That was how dedicated he was. Adventuring was fun, but his greatest joy was found in playing with his friends. To Umonga, these whose parents had passed away and who had no friends in real life. Dang, that sucks. The guild Ainzogon was a shining memory of the good times he had had with his friends. And now, this guild will disappear. His heart was filled with regret and reluctance. Umonga gripped the staff of Ainzogon tightly. He was just an ordinary salaryman, and he lacked the financial power or connections to change that fact. He was just another player who could only watch the closing time as it approached. I still don't get why they would get rid of such a popular game. A time on his watch read 23:57. The server was shut down at 00. There was little time left. The virtual world would end and he would have to go back to reality the next day. That was only natural. Nobody could live in a virtual world, which was why everyone had left, one by one. Umonga sighed. He had to wake up at 4 tomorrow. He had to sleep the moment the server shut down in order to not affect the next day's work. 23:59:35, 36, 37. Umonga set his watch to count out the seconds. 23:59:48, 49, 50. Umonga closed his eyes. 23:59:58, 59. The countdown finished. He waited for the curtain to fall on his fantasy world. He waited for the automatic logout. 00. 1, 2, 3. Huh? Umonga opened his eyes. He had not returned to his familiar room. This was still the throne room of Yggdrasil. What's going on? The time was right. He should have been forcibly locked out by the server shutdown. 00:38. It was definitely past midnight. The clock could not have been wrong because of a system error. A confused Umonga looked around him, searching for any clues in the vicinity. Could it be they delayed the server shutdown? Or had they expended playtime as a form of compensation? My money would be on that last one, but although numerous reasons appeared in his mind, they were all far from the truth. However, the most likely reason was that an irresistible force had creeped up and extended the server shutdown time. If that was the case, the GMs would have made an announcement. Umonga hurriedly worked to reopen the message panel he had closed, and then he stopped halfway. There was no command console. What on earth happened? Yeah, no command console. That means he's not in the game anymore. Hello? Telemarketers. Don't you hate them? I sure do. Okay. Hang on. Gotta fix my hair. Umonga was filled with panic, frustration, and suspicion, but he was also surprised by how calm he was considering the circumstances. He decided to call on other means, forced connections, but that did not require a console, the tryout function, a GM call, a forced logout. None of them responded. It was as though they had been deleted from the system. What the hell is going on? Umonga's angry voice echoes throughout the throne room, then vanished. Today was the last day of Yggdrasil, and all these things were happening on a day that should have marked an end to the game. Was it some kind of prank they were pulling on the players? Umonga was quite unhappy that he could not meet the end of the game in style, and the words he muttered clearly illustrated the anger inside him. There should not have been any reply to his hostile suspicion. However, what's wrong, Umonga-sama? It was the first time he had heard that beautiful woman's voice. Umonga was startled, but he still kept searching for the source of the voice. When he found the one who had spoken the words from just now, he was speechless. The person who had answered him was the NPC raising her head, Albedo. Dang, did I really just get through all that? Good lord. You guys see all that? Okay, what page is this? Page 35. I am on page 51. I got through 16 pages. Good lord. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will start part 3 of the novel of chapter 1 next time, which will most likely be either sometime later today or tomorrow. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time.